Glenn Schumann.
Joe, wait, I want to wait to talk. I want to wait to talk about him.
How in the Rudy Poo can you put DeLeone Lynn above Glenn Schumann?
Okay, this is a take that I think you're gonna.
Wait.
This actually isn't a take. This isn't even a take. This is legitimately like a question. He was a co-DC, so like I just don't know.
Calling all of the plays, and you know that.
Why did he have and why does he still have the co-DC title?
I don't know why he does.
We're obviously not in the coaching room, and we don't really know the full dynamic of the coaching staff. I'm not like
Ian Lanning had co-DC with Glenn Schumann.
I'm not saying that it is detracting from his ranking and his placement for me. That's not what I'm saying.
You don't even have him on there.
Let me finish what I'm trying to say. All I am bringing this up is it's a legitimate question is like, should we consider somebody that's not listed as a full-time defensive coordinator?
Hell yeah, he's calling plays and you know that.
But why is he listed as a co-DC? Like that's what's like bothering me. It feels weird that like I'm picking a guy that's
Joe Brady was a co-OC in 2019. Did you take anything away from him?
No, I didn't. But why was he listed as a co-OC?
Because titles don't mean shit. They're giving T-Rob a co-DC title for a pay bump and for recruiting. And you know that. Glenn Schumann is calling the defenses. And by the way, you have the Oregon head coach who had a co-DC with him, literally Glenn Schumann at Georgia. It's just how Kirby sets it up. I don't know what to tell you here.
This is less of me trying to put up a fight with you. All I'm saying is like I put him right at 6 because he is not listed as the sole defensive coordinator. Oh, as the sole defensive coordinator.
One reason.
Can I finish? Would you agree that Georgia's coaching staff has an unbelievably ridiculous, deep support system, specifically on the defensive side of the football? Would you not agree with that?
You legitimately came in this show months ago and said we should consider Glenn Schumann as the next Alabama head coach because he's from there.
No, we were talking. Wait, we were talking about like unexpected names.
But you threw it in there. So,
because we were listing unexpected, unlikely names. That was the point of the. Don't pull me out of context like that.
Oh, that's not out of context, and you know it's not out of context.
We literally listed. Okay, who were some random people that could, like, out of nowhere that we were like, holy shit, how did this guy?
Liar, pants on fire.
We also didn't name Kalen DeBoer, so we're both fucking wrong.
Excuse me.
You named Kalen DeBoer for Michigan. You didn't name him when we talked about the Alabama shit.
I said he'd be on the move.
Okay. All I'm trying to say is, though, I don't think it's wrong to put a guy at 6. Okay? Because he is.
Lynn there, it is. It's in all seriousness, because we're kind of just playing around here. In all seriousness, it's horrible to have DeLeone Lynn at 3 above Glenn Schumann. Joe's the defensive coordinator and call plays when they won back-to-back national titles. I mean, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but he's got a way better support system and coaching staff around him than DeLeone Lynn has.
I could give a fuck. Because you know who also had a great personnel around him when he was at Alabama? Kirby Smart did. And look what he's doing. All I'm saying here
I'm not taking it away from him.
Okay, but all I'm saying to you here is this. You can't take away because he's recruiting at a high level, that he's with a head coach that recruits at a high level, and that they have dominating players. You have to look at what he's doing. Joe, arguably the best 2 defenses that we've seen the last decade are because of Glenn Schumann's been the DC. He's an elite recruiter. He's an elite play caller. And he gets the dudes. You can't take that away from him. You can't say, well, Phil Parker doesn't have anybody, and he's just so great. But then when a guy goes and recruits elite-level talent, has arguably the best defense that we've seen, some would make the argument in the 2000s that you can say, oh, well, it's the support staff around him. It's worse for him because he's under such a high microscope. If Iowa loses a game, if UCLA loses a game and you make a wrong call, quite honestly, nobody in the country gives a fuck. if Phil Parker makes a wrong call or DeAnton Lynn is. There is no way in human hell that you can put DeAnton Lynn over one good year when a guy has more national titles as a DC than DeAnton Lynn legitimately has at years as a DC in general.
He was the only reason why UCLA was kept alive last year when Chip Kelly completely fucking mailed it in, just like completely, gave up and stopped
But
trying.
I asked you earlier, is this the top DCs in the country or is it about last year? You cannot
The top DCs in the country.
Okay.
They led every statistical category. They led like every defensive statistical
Georgia led
category.
every statistical category almost in the country. I don't want to hear that shit.
You're acting like I'm putting him at like 20. I have him at 6 because he's on a really great coaching staff.
Let's take everything away from Kirby Smart when he was the DC at Alabama because Nick gave him a good supporting staff.
But those are not related. That's not related.
You have a coach that won back-to-back national titles. Please, dear God, tell me how that's not related.
How long was Kirby Smart the defensive coordinator in Alabama?
A decade.
How long is Glenn Schumann? He's 34 years old. How long has he been the defensive coordinator?
He's been the co-DC, I think, 4 or 5 years. The last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, he's been calling plays.
God forbid I'd rather rank a guy who managed to lead the country in a number of important statistical categories, was the only reason why their team won games with mediocre talent compared to somebody who was successful, and I'm not taking away their success, but had 5 stars and an incredibly deep roster, and also a head coach who is a brilliant defensive mind and was one of the better defensive coordinators in the past decade or 2 decades in college football, and then also has a co-title and is sharing some responsibilities, whatever we want to name them or not, with other members of the staff.
Joe, earlier you said that my take was the worst you'd ever heard.
No.
I love you with everything in my heart, but I'm sorry. I've never heard a worse take.
It's not a bad take.
He's calling the plays.
I'm not taking that away from him, and I didn't argue that he's not calling the plays.
Oh, okay. So he is the DC. He is the guy that he still has the DC title. So he's a play caller, and he's got the title of DC, does he not?
He does.
He was the DC for back-to-back national titles. Joe, again, DeAnton Lynn, with all due respect to DeAnton Lynn, he has no business whatsoever remotely on this list right now.
Okay, but wait.
You know what I'm going to do? You know what hold on now. You know what I'm going to do when USC is ass next year? You know what I'm going to say, right?
What?
That you can't. How could you put him there over Glenn Schumann?
They're not going to be defensively. They're not going to be ass. If they have problems, it's going to be because of Miller Moss. I mean, you put blind faith into Miller Moss after one football game, but you won't put faith in DeAnton Lynn.
Hold on, say that again now.
You put faith in Miller Moss after one football game, but you don't want to put faith in DeAnton
because
Lynn.
They have offensive personnel, Joe.
DeAnton Lynn took a Prius on the highway and was going 120 miles an hour, and Glenn Schumann had a Ferrari, and of course he's going to beat the Prius. Like, of course he's going to get further than the Prius. But the fact that they were neck and neck and not far off from one another is an accomplishment.
Forgot about Glenn Schumann on your list, and now you're fighting.
I read your list when I put mine together. You texted me at 10 a.m. I put mine together at 3 p.m. I debated with, and he was on my list last year.
Okay, I don't have a defense there. Okay, you got me. I don't have a defense on that one. Joe, let's be real. He's got to be in there. Can I be honest with you? Here's the truth. If I put Glenn Schumann at 1, I could still make the debate. I mean, how
to each their own.
No, you know what happens is that we have a play caller, and when you have a coach like Kirby, and I mean have a head coach like Kirby, and this ironically, Joe, this is funny, and it's history repeating itself. Joe, because Kirby Smart was a DC against Nick, he got passed over because he had never been a head coach. The same thing, Joe, I could make the argument damn near the same thing is happening to Glenn Schumann.
I don't disagree that Glenn Schumann is a good
So are
defensive
you going to, let me
coordinator.
ask you this question. Knowing what you know now, would you keep Kirby Smart off this list ever?
No, because he was at
Okay,
Alabama for a very long time, and he was a defensive coordinator for a very long time.
no, the first time that he was a coordinator was with Nick at Bama. And he didn't get full responsibility until Nick gave him full responsibility about 5 years in.
Okay, but I don't think it's wrong to prop up somebody who is in a much more difficult position to like it's like you have two interns coming into a company, and one intern's dad works at the company and went to Harvard, and the other one went to a state school.
How are you comparing this to nepotism?
I'm not comparing it to okay, forget the dad thing. One kid went to Harvard and he's got a long list of experiences, and the other one just coming from a state school, but the kid from the state school outperforms the
He
one with all the
didn't
research.
outperform him. How can you tell, Joe? Are you legitimately going to sit here and tell me that Georgia defensively?
Did you have any expectation that UCLA was going to be as good as they were this past year defensively? Did you have any expectation that they were going to do it?
No, I did not.
No one had that expectation. Did you have an expectation?
Did you have an expectation that in 20 years of football that Glenn Schumann would lead arguably the best defense maybe ever?
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.